You might have heard of Immortals Fenyx Rising. It's an open-world RPG about Greek mythology that I bought about 4 years ago when it was released, and then let it gather dust on one of my shelves. Little did I know that I was sleeping on one of the best games I've ever played. One of the main criticisms I've heard is it's a Breath of the Wild copy, but considering Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are my two favorite games, is that even a bad thing? I've got an entirely new kingdom to explore, complete with new characters, a new story, new monsters, and new bosses. It definitely shares characteristics, like upgrading hearts and stamina, riding horses, completing shrines, and it even comes down to 4 main quests before the final boss. However, many of these things are done very differently. For example, instead of having towers, you have to look around for century-old statues of gods to climb up and look out. The shrines feel completely unique to Breath of the Wild because of how different the abilities you have are. Completing shrines gives you Zeus's lightning to get more stamina, but to upgrade your health, you need to find ambrosia scattered across the main world. And instead of just entering a divine beast, the 4 main quests have you meeting gods and traveling all over the worlds to help them. The quests in Immortals Fenyx Rising feel bigger, more in-depth, and even end in a super complex but fun mega shrine. I quickly fell in love with every part of this game, so let me show you how fun it is. It opens with several cutscenes giving some backstory. We're introduced to Typhon, who's the villain, I guess? He makes some pretty valid points about the gods murking small children for absolutely no reason and being completely selfish, stubborn, and cruel. I mean, he looks pretty evil, but immediately after that we see Zeus fully prove his point. Zeus visits Prometheus, his cousin, who's been chained to an icy mountaintop for eternity. Not only that, but Zeus sends an eagle to eat his liver every day, which regenerates each night so that he can have eternal suffering. So, with a punishment worse than death for a family member, you'd probably expect he massacred some sacred animals, released legions of evil monsters against the gods, called a god ugly, jaywalked, I don't know, something to not even earn death, but eternal torture. Instead, he saw humans suffering, and he gave them fire to help them not suffer. Yeah, I'd probably give him eternal torture too. Prometheus makes a bet that if Phoenix, the character, can defeat Typhon and help the gods, Prometheus can be freed from his punishment, and from then on, they banter throughout the game, explaining backstory and telling surprisingly funny jokes. I gave my character a Zuko-esque mark and ran into a weird glitch. When choosing what he sounded like, it was super quiet and I don't know why. I figured it would fix itself, but it never did. I can hear Zeus, Prometheus, and Typhon just fine, but any other character is as quiet as a mouse. We start as a sole survivor of a shipwreck and slowly discover the beginning area. Unlike Breath of the Wild, this game takes a much more combat-focused approach. Instead of getting 4 abilities, you collect a sword, an axe, and a bow before getting 1 ability to pick up and throw objects that can also be used in combat. Instead of collecting different weapons that do different amounts of damage and interact in different ways, you upgrade each weapon as a whole and find different skins that have different effects on how you attack enemies, such as extra stamina or health. There are also combos that you start with and other attack options that you can upgrade to receive, such as pausing in midair to shoot your bow or Apollo's arrow, which can be controlled for much more accurate and powerful shots. Speaking of combat, we should also talk about the enemies. Along with all the normal enemies like undead soldiers, harpies, and Lizzos, you can also fight wild animals like boars and bears. My favorite fights, though, were the mini-bosses. These can range from Cyclopses to Medusa, and each one has an intricate style of fighting that's really fun to figure out. You know what would also be really fun to figure out? How to like and subscribe. Please? Anyways, we discover the axe and watch it get possessed and dragged into a fiery pit of lava, which we jump into and die. Executive producer Dick Wolf. I mean, Zeus, who not only directed the director, but also innovated torture, fed the eagles, created fake news, and fun. What a game. Surprisingly, we didn't die, because after falling through the load screen, we belly flop onto solid concrete. Now, I took AP Physics 1 last year, and with packets of homework every night, it largely contributed to me not posting. However, it should let me see if this is humanly viable. According to the cutscene, we fell for about 8 seconds, and doing some intense calculations in my head, I determined that he fell for about 313.6 meters. Converting to freedom units, that's about 1,029 feet. Checking Google for more answers, I found that a regular human can typically survive a fall up to about 25 feet, suffering some minor or major injuries. So, give or take 1,000, and yeah, that checks out. Don't worry though, eventually he learns to roll when he hits the ground, and if I've learned anything from climbing, rolling cancels all fall damage. One of my friends was once dropped while lead climbing over 20 feet, rolled backwards, and just got up. I did a little constellation puzzle that may or may not have taken me 30 minutes to solve, and unlocked the wings, which not only functions as a paraglider, but also as a double jump. I learned how to flurry rush, and then had the weirdest battle of the entire game. To finish off a shrine, I had to face a Cyclops, but immediately I start dying of laughter, and I have no idea why. Then Zeus shrinks the Cyclops to the size of a doll, and Phoenix laughs even harder. But I don't know, I've seen Child's Play, I've seen Annabelle, those little guys will mess you up if you aren't careful. Zeus fortunately makes him teenager size, but still labels him adorable. I then absolutely destroyed him and got a vase filled with gas, hopefully not the Cyclops's. But with that gas, I managed to blow Typhon away after a really funny confrontation. Typhon is talking about ending the world in his deep booming voice, and because of the glitch making everyone else sound quiet, we sound like we're talking from across a football field.
Tweet, delivery boy. You do not deserve the crown you were given.
You have the duality of saying, I'm going to stop this evil titan trying to run the world, but whispering your threats, so maybe he won't hear you and you can run away. But we don't run away, and instead blow Typhon back to his volcano so we can get a couple more upgrades before defeating him for good. That was the intro to the game, so you get a title card and a beautiful look at the landscape that I'll be spending hours exploring. I completed a couple of shrines and heard another funny bit from Zeus and Prometheus.
If Phoenix wanted to tame the beautiful beast, the mortal would have to befriend it first.
Why are you whispering?
Because I don't want to scare it away.
What are you on? Because can I have some?
Unlike Breath of the Wild, where you're pretty much just left to explore, in this game you immediately want to head to the Hall of Gods, which acts as your main base during the game. This is where you upgrade all of your stats. I had to sit through about 1 billion cutscenes to unlock each upgrade station, but after that, this place is pretty nice to have everything you need in a central place. And it's high up, so you can easily glide down to anything nearby. Throughout the beginning of the game, we're chasing down this one idiot kid who keeps running into gangs of monsters. He turns out to be Hermes, god of travel, wealth, and animal husbandry. Okay. Besides the point, this generic white boy is a god, so why is he doing this? I guess he wants to test if I'm a hero who will save people, but he runs into like 7 different gangs of monsters. I feel like one would have sufficed. Eventually we track him down and meet up with him at the Hall of Gods, where he explains why Typhon is hell-bent on killing everyone. Now, I was pretty excited to finally get some depth on this great character, and Hermes explained that he was just, get this, born like that. He came out of the womb, or however titans are born, ate all the fruits and veggies to become a big, strong, 2,000 foot tall titan, and decided that all the gods had to go. And while he's at it, he might as well just kill all the humans to let his devil friends roam the land. But he's got to start somewhere, so he challenges Zeus, who embarrasses him and traps him under a mountain. Despite his mom being the little goddess of the earth, he's stranded there for thousands of years until a star breaks his chain and he bursts from the mountain stronger than ever. You think maybe his joints would be a little stiff, maybe be a little weak, but I guess not, because he goes and obliterates all the gods in like 2 seconds. And instead of killing his arch rivals, he turns them into a robot, a tree, a chicken, and a child. And that's pretty much where the story ends. And now I, a little demigod who got into a shipwreck yesterday, am the only thing that stands between this primordial 200-story foot tall titan who single-handedly destroyed all the gods and world dominance. Seems easy enough. I also like the detail that Hermes has homemade dolls on hand to explain this. Another thing I like about this game is that as you go on and unlock more upgrades, the game just gets faster and more fun to play. In Breath of the Wild, the main abilities are just for solving puzzles and not much else. Although there are glitches such as boomy zoomies or BLS slides, none of these are intended by the devs. In Fenyx Rising, you not only unlock the ability to sprint, dash while swimming, jump while climbing, and glide faster, something distinctly lacking in Breath of the Wild, you can also get Ares' Wrath and Athena's Dash, which not only do a significant amount of damage, but also provide additional movement. They can be used in puzzles for shrines, but they can also just be used to make navigating the outside world faster and more enjoyable. One of my favorite things I found was this time trial, where you get access to all of your abilities and have constantly regenerating stamina, and you just try and get through these obstacles as fast as you can. The abilities make the game feel so fluid. I unfortunately figured this out way later in my playthrough and spent a lot of time without them, but I would highly recommend getting them as soon as possible. The robot, chicken, tree, and child are the 4 gods that we must save and restore before facing the final boss. I decided on Aphrodite first because she's close and seemed like an obvious first pick. She unfortunately got turned to a tree and ain't looking as pretty as before. But that's okay because we're going to restore her to all her glory by getting foamy bathwater from the ocean. Our first quest is to take one of these massive balls and put it in the ocean to collect sea foam. Zeus explains that Aphrodite was born like this many millennia ago, and this starts one of the funniest bits in the entire game. Zeus keeps telling this story and his admiration for it, and Prometheus keeps interjecting suddenly like, no, not really. And eventually at the end of the quest, when you finally get the foam through whispers, Prometheus explains childbirth to Zeus, and Zeus is just like, gross, why would you tell me that? You, despite having 6 kids of his own.
Can't take this anymore. Zeus, Gaia lied to you about how Aphrodite was born.
Oh yeah? Then tell me how it really happened.
And Kronos, they fought.
You can't be serious.
Fell into the sea.
That's...
Because Kronos cut off his...
You're sick, Prometheus. Do not talk to me.
With the sea foam secure.
To get these balls to the ocean, we roll them down this hill broken up by a couple of fights. The first one was against a Cyclops, and I had no healing potions, so I pretty much just camped. I started by shooting arrows, but eventually learned that throwing rocks deals a crazy amount of damage and might be the new meta. I was a little scared for the fights to come as I couldn't heal much, but thankfully they were much easier. I fought 2 harpies who kept giving each other back shots, and a lot of Jabba the Hutts who are ridiculously easy to flurry rush. After returning to Aphrodite, a Wraith of Achilles appeared and absolutely rocked my world. I used just about every potion I had and barely escaped with my life. I am still not great at fighting, but this shadow creature was something else. After the bathwater, we next need to collect her tears. And I'm not gonna lie, these requests are getting a little strange, but they lead us into some shrines which I am down for. The first one required some exploring to unlock, but led to a picture match under the pressure of flying lava balls. Then I had to destroy a statue to discover an Angry Birds inspired level that had terrible latency and made every shot so much harder to hit. The final tier was located in a shrine named Aphrodite's Bewilderment. When I walked into this one, I got the message that I was missing a godly power to complete the shrine and get all the chests. However, I was able to cheese the chest by bringing 2 boxes I was supposed to leave at the beginning all the way to the chest. I was then able to stack 3 boxes high using the 4th to climb on and just barely jump onto this platform instead of using Ares' Wrath because I didn't have it. This message was weird to me because in an earlier shrine, I legitimately needed an upgrade on my throwing ability to get a chest. I spent 30 minutes trying everything but eventually looked in the upgrade menu and found what I was missing. And there was no message. Why? I could have saved half an hour, but instead I was bumbling around like a buffoon for no reason. The second to last side quest is all to do with apples. I found 3 apples the size of my chest to unlock an apple the size of a boulder. Doctors are shaking in their boots. One of these and it'll keep them away for an entire year. I pushed it down a hill, definitely bruising it a ridiculous amount, all to get a golden apple. When I brought it to Aphrodite, she explained that a long time ago there was a contest for this golden apple, and to win it, she started the Trojan War, killing thousands of people and destroying the city of Troy for an apple. You know, Typhon might have a point. The culmination of each of the 4 main quests is a mega shrine. Aphrodite's featured about 4 areas, each the size of a regular shrine, with each freeing the tree and progressing further throughout the level. There was tons of loot and fascinating puzzles that ended in a harpy boss. He wasn't too difficult to defeat, as instead of attacking me, he thought it would be a good idea to take a power nap every 15 seconds and let me wail on him. He spawns some normal harpies to distract you and protect himself, but if you just hide behind the boss, little harpies will actually join in and attack their boss with you, making it a cakewalk. Finishing this main shrine, I received the 3rd and final gift from Aphrodite. As you progress through the main quest, since there are so many different parts you have to complete, you receive blessings throughout and can stop at any time to do a different quest. Once we transformed Aphrodite back into a god, she returned to the Hall of Gods, where you can talk to her at any time. However, and maybe this is just me, she kind of looked better as a tree. Maybe it's just a Nintendo Switch graphics, but she ain't looking too hot for a goddess of love and beauty. Next up on the agenda is Athena, who has turned into an 8-year-old girl. Despite being a literal child, she keeps all the attitude of a narcissistic god and bosses me around every single time I talk to her. The first thing she tasked me with is killing a Hydra. Now, I've read Percy Jackson, so you might say I'm an expert in Greek mythology. Now, I always thought to kill a Hydra, you either need to decapitate the head and burn the wound so it can't grow back, or completely obliterate it so bad that there's nothing to go back from. I figured that maybe it could start out with like 4 heads, and after defeating one, you have like a 10-second window to use an Apollo's arrow with a torch in the room to burn the head and put it down for good. And if not, you'd have 2 more to fight, making it more and more difficult until you have to die and restart, or you can burn the heads, removing them for good. However, they instead have you fight 1 head, then 2 heads, and then 4 heads. And as we all know, 4 is the limit. I can't count past 4, you can't count past 4, no one knows what comes after 4, so that's why we gotta stop. While it does seem like a missed opportunity, it was still a fun fight that I'd do twice because I missed the chest at the end of the level the first time. After that, I took a little break from Athena's sass to find a dying phoenix. Hermes begs me to let it die for some reason, but instead I go into what I can only describe as Dante's 9th circle of hell. I traveled into a fiery hellscape and saw the scariest creature in this game so far. Thankfully, running away like a little sissy baby is a completely valid strategy to get my seed and save the phoenix, giving me a new partner that I never use. Theoretically, I could attack with him, but I did that once and never again. Continuing with Athena, I had to take out a gang of monsters that blocked me from attaching Achilles' heel back to his statuesque body and unlocked a shrine. It was an arena where I fought increasingly harder waves of mobs, but I had traps to take them out more easily. The first couple waves were easy enough that I didn't need them, but I kind of hate fighting with Cyclops, so I used the lasers and they completely obliterated this man in a fraction of a second. I did a couple more little side quests like returning Odysseus' ship home before opening Cerberus' mouth and fighting Cerberus inside. No one tell Christopher Nolan, but they kinda copied his movie. This was one of the hardest fights I've done so far simply because he doesn't flinch. The only damage I could get was from flurry rushes or occasional pot shots with the bow. Despite this, I nearly ran out of healing materials and barely escaped with my life. After recouping, I returned to Athena and fought some lions before she turned red-eyed psycho on me. I managed to calm her down, but during this cutscene, I just thought about how much fighting there was with a god of wisdom. What is Ares, the god of war, gonna be like? Since my stock of healing potions was run down, I went and collected supplies before entering Athena's mega shrine. This one was also very cool, but a slight bit repetitive. Each area has using these intertwined blocks, which is a very cool concept I haven't yet seen in the game. My favorite was carrying them and stacking all the big blocks to just barely make it up this platform. There were also challenges based on Apollo's arrow, which I enjoyed, as that ability is probably my favorite for puzzles in this game. At the end of each section, you fight Medusa. She starts out easy, but every time you fight her, she gains another more powerful attack. However, there are 2 that suck. The second time you fight her, she gets really tall and shoots purple lasers that if you get anywhere near you, slow you down about 50%. This means delayed inputs and really frustrating gameplay. It really disrupts the fight and makes it less enjoyable. The other thing I hate is that she can randomly turn invincible. She has an incredibly easy attack to avoid, so it's pretty much a cutscene until I can fight her again. She has this same green ball attack when she isn't invincible, and I think it's much more fun there. She has to charge it up so you can attack her, but you can't get too greedy, as the explosion does a ton of damage. So you have to balance when to go for one more hit and when to dodge. I love it when a fight just flows together, like Nightmare King Grim and Hollow Knight. It's easy to mess up and get hit, but when you don't, you get into a flow state where you're attacking perfectly and it feels beautiful, almost like a dance. You could fight Medusa perfectly, and all it feels is clunky and inconsistent. Not the best boss design, but I did enjoy the puzzles and finished freeing the second of 4 gods. I love this game, and am seemingly the only one to talk about it without being sponsored. I will be finishing this game and probably 100%ing it, so if you want to see that, make sure to let me know in the comments below, and if you want to buy the game, the price often drops below $10, which is a ridiculously good deal for a game this good. If you have any video suggestions, let me know down below, and until next time, have a great day.